Hello and welcome to the Hack Music Theory Show. I'm Ray Harmony and this is our brand new Hack a Hit series where we expose the music theory behind the latest hits. Today we'll be hacking the Chainsmokers' favorite chord progression, which they used in both their hits Closer and the brand new one with Coldplay, Something Just Like This. But before we crack on, if you want to stay bang up to date with 2017's hottest music theory trends, hit subscribe now. Alright, let's hack the Chainsmokers chord progression in their single Closer. We're going to do this in two stages. Stage one, we're going to hack the music theory. That's going to include analyzing what key they're in, what chords they're using. And then stage two, we're going to hack the songwriting. So we're going to talk about the tricks they're using to compose this chord progression. And then we'll talk about areas for improvement. As a music lecturer, I've been giving students feedback for decades on their composing based on what they're doing well and what they need to work on still. And you know, this is hugely important to me. And we're going to have a look at this chord progression and how we could improve it. So first, the analysis. Whenever you're analyzing a new chord progression or melody or anything, first thing you need to do is find out what the root is, because without that you don't know where the home of the song or the section is. So here's a little hack for figuring out what the root is. The root is going to sound like, well, the root is the home, which means it's going to sound like the note and the chord that the song would end on. And that's the hack. So play the chord progression and think of what you would like to try as being the root, and if that sounds like the chord that the whole song could end on, then that's the root. And when you do that with this one, I'll show you it's actually this chord here that is the root. So let me show you quick. We'll get out of this one and just copy that over, glue those guys together. Okay, so I just made a repetition there. So this is the beginning of the second chord progression. And this guy here is the root. So, because I already did this little hack before. So there we go. So that chord is the same as that chord. And you'll hear how it just sounds like the end of the song when you do this. And also, just to avoid getting confused, always use the triad version of the chord. So just the 1, 3, or flat 3 if it's minor, and 5. So this one is F, oops, that's the F, that's the 1, the 5, this is the flat 3, that's the 5, and this is actually the flat 7. Okay, so that's a F minor 7. We don't want that because whenever you have a 7th chord, you create tension because the 7 wants to go up to the 8, which is the 1 an octave higher. So we're just going to go ahead and do that. So now this is just the F minor triad. Okay, now listen to this. You'll see what I mean. This totally sounds like the end of the song. So this chord progression is in F minor, which means that this right here is our root. Now here's another little hack. This is super helpful if you're new to analyzing. Most pop music is in the major scale or the natural minor scale, And the easiest way to analyze those two scales is just using the white notes on the piano, because then what happens is you have no key signature, so there's no sharps or flats that you need to think about. So this is what I call the white note hack, and in MIDI it is so easy because we just highlight everything, select all, and move your root. If it's a minor, move your root to A. Okay, so now that there, our root is A, which means this whole thing is now in A minor, and we don't have to worry about any black notes. Okay, so there's no sharps or flats, everything's white notes, which makes it super easy to analyze. And then once we've analyzed it, we just move it back to F minor. And then if you're analyzing a major scale chord progression, just select all and move the MIDI to C. So your root is on C, and then your chord progression is in C major, and there's no black notes, no sharps or flats you have to worry about. So you can analyze, and when you're done, you just move it back. Okay, so on that note, let's have a look at this. Starting off with the root over here. So we've actually got the 1, A, because we're obviously in A minor here, right? So that's 1 and 5. This is C, which is the flat 3. And that is 5, the E. And the G is flat 7. Okay, so this is an A minor 7 chord. Alright, and you can see that this chord and this chord are exactly the same. So let's have a quick look at that. So we've got the G down here, which is the 1, and that's the 5, D, and then we've got the B, which is the 3. So we already know this is going to be a G major chord because of the G and the B. Then we've got the D, which is the 5, and then another G. So this is just a straight up G major triad, okay? And same with that. And then this one here that we're starting on. Okay, so we've got F and C, so that's our 1 and the 5, so this is going to be a F something. We've got an A, which is the major third, so this is going to be a major chord, F major. And then that's the 5, and then this is actually the 2, it's G, right? So that's a 2. So this first chord is actually a major add 9 chord, because whenever you have the 2 on top of a triad, you call that the add 9. When we build chords, theoretically, because it's like building a wall with bricks, so it's 1, 3, 5, you keep skipping one, so the next one is 7, and then the next one after that would be, you go to the 8, which is the 1, and then it would be the 2. You don't call it a 2, you call it a 9, because theoretically it has to come on top of the wall that you're building. You can't come along and shove a brick in between like the 1 and the 3, right? So 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and so on. However, when you don't have a 7, then you're not following that play, skip, play pattern. You're doing that for the triad 1, 3, 5, and then you're actually leaving out the 7 and going to the 9, so that's why it's called an add 9. Really lovely chord, because the 9, that 2, is really floaty sounding, so it's a really nice chord. So this first chord is a major add 9, this is a major triad, and this is a minor 7 chord, and then it goes back to that major triad. Okay, so, and then obviously, now that we've done that, we can pull this back. So the A root, we're going back to the F. So now this is the actual chord progression. So it's in F minor, so the first chord here is actually going to be a D flat major add 9. And then we've got an E flat major, and then we've got the root F minor 7, and then back to E flat major. Okay, now let's hack the songwriting. If you've watched my my chords video, you'll see the first thing that they do really well is they've titled the chords together with a common note. So that sounds super smooth, which is why the chords really just kind of like melt into each other. Then the other thing is, what I would say is very interesting about this chord progression is the fact that it doesn't start on the root and it doesn't even end on the root. So they've actually got the root in the middle there as the third chord. That's pretty unusual, and it's very cool because obviously, you know, when it starts off here on a major chord, you know, and then goes into another major chord, you're obviously thinking, okay, this is probably a major key because it sounds so uplifting. So they've got, like, if you look at all of this, all the highlighted things now, that's all majors, right? So the vast majority of this chord progression is major, but because of this being the root chord minor, this whole chord progression, the key of this is minor. And that's really cool. So the core emotion of this is actually minor. It's got that sadness to it, but they're really highlighting the major, especially by starting on a major. So what they're doing, if that's the 1, then we can kind of see this chord here is the flat 6. So in other words, it's the 6th chord you get in a natural minor scale. This one is the flat 7, so it's the 7th chord you get. So if you play the natural minor scale and you play a chord from the 6th, that's this one, and from the 7th, that one, and then into the root. So it's kind of got this climbing feel. Alright, now areas for improvement. These ones here, I feel like this is a wasted opportunity. These are just fifths, so it's just the 1 and the 5, and then same again, same again, same again. So this is not adding any value to this chord progression. It could be doing something else. And we'll get to that in a minute. Secondly, I feel like this chord is a bit of a kind of a throwaway. It really sounds like it's literally regressing. It's going backwards. There's nothing wrong with repeating a chord in a chord progression. However, I don't feel like this is told enough of its story before it starts repeating itself. So what I would do with this last chord here, I would actually find a way to bring in a 4th chord there. Which chord is obviously up to up to the songwriter. The one thing when I listen to this, so the key is F, right? And you look at this top line, in terms of the key, this is a flat 7, flat 7, flat 7, flat 7. This whole thing is a flat 7. So musically, the story that this is telling is slight frustration, because what's happening is the flat 7 is never resolving to the 8, to the 1, right, an octave higher, the root. So I think it'd be super cool to, like, after all of this frustration, especially because it is pop music, I would start by taking this up to the root, the F. So it's going to give a nice little resolution. So you can hear from here. Okay, and now what do we want to do there? It would it'd be pointless to play the root again, because we've already got that. So I'm kind of hearing it going probably up to maybe the flat 3 chord. So let's fill in the rest of that chord and see if that's what this chord progression is wanting. So A flat, and we'll for now we'll just kind of stick with the 5th that they've got down here. So A flat and then E flat, and then up here we've got the F, okay, which is actually a 6th above. So we're already looking at an A flat major 6th chord, because we've got the A flat, the 1, the 5, that's the 6, and then we're going to put in the 3. So, and that's our common note, we can see that. And then E flat. So where should we put the E flat? That's actually potentially going to double with that. So we could put up here. We need the common note to be in the same place though, so that would involve an inversion. Let's see. We'd probably want to do that here. Actually, this is kind of interesting because this brings me on to the next point. So for now, we're gonna come back to this and fix it, because obviously we need the common notes to be. So these guys need to be in the same place within the chord. So at the moment, they're on these two on the top of this chord, and they're on the bottom of this chord. So, but we don't want to. We could moving this guy down there would fix it, but the whole point of this was to lift that up to, you know, the F up here, because that's the root. So we wanted to have that flat 7 up to the 8 resolution. So I'm going to undo that. So we do want this guy up here. But here's the second area for improvement. It would be the harmonic rhythm. The way the chords change. This syncopation here is awesome, because this chord rings longer than you were expecting. You were expecting it to change here, but then it doesn't, and then you're kind of thinking, okay, it's probably going to change like on the 4th beat here or the next bar, and then it quickly like changes on the offbeat when you weren't expecting it. However, once that's been set up, then obviously you're fully expecting it here, and not only does it happen there, but in the original version it happens back into that same chord again. So the two ways I would allow this chord progression to grow into something more is by changing this last chord, and then also changing the harmonic rhythm. And I mean, it could be fun actually to, because you're expecting it to change here, it could be cool to actually bring it in before, so we actually end up with, and I mean, now I'm thinking we could even actually get 2 chords here. So if we did this, we had a chord here and a chord here, because that'd be pretty cool to like speed up the harmonic rhythm as it comes round. Let's have a listen to that. That's pretty cool, because it feels alive, because that harmonic rhythm is shifting. Most pop music has very boring and predictable harmonic rhythm, so you always want to play around with where your chords change to give it a little bit of freshness, and because when things are not always totally predictable, that's thrilling for the listener to be taken on this journey. So I'm thinking we get 1 chord in here. which also might solve the problem of the voicing of this chord. We might be able to leave it as it is. So because this is the root, I'm thinking, you know, we could even play a different version of the root, because it doesn't have to be, you know, we don't have to end up with 5 chords. We can, you know, 4 chords would do the job. It's always nice to play different versions of the same chord anyway, so we could do maybe another root chord, especially because this is the root. We want to spend as long as possible on it to anchor it, and therefore the listeners hear that as being the home. So we've got F, that's the 1 and the 5, and then this was the flat 3, 5, and then this was that 7. So maybe we resolve that over here. So actually what you're getting here is just a F minor triad. Okay, so we could. I really like that too. That they had, like the add 9. So I'm wondering maybe we can do the same thing here. Like if we get this guy, because we're in so F. Yeah. So if we get this guy up to a G, then this becomes a F minor add 9. That's kind of cool. Okay, let's have a look at this end bit here, because so we've got an E flat there. So this is the one, because we kind of need to get this guy down to here, but then we're going to end up with a doubling of the note there. So maybe we could do another 2 even over that last chord, because this is the root down here, A flat. So we could maybe do B flat. Let's have a listen to that. Sorry, MIDI's the piano sound's cutting out. I like that. One issue is obviously we need a common note from the end to the beginning again to make that nice and smooth. So I'm thinking maybe this one, we get this down to the F, which is over that A flat. That's our 6th. That could be quite nice. Let's have a listen to that. Ooh. Very nice. Harmonic rhythm's not quite right here yet. Definitely this is right. Oh, that's tasty. I'm wondering if we bring this up actually. Maybe it's maybe we need to, because either way, as long as we change before this, right? So as long as we change here or here, it's still earlier than people are expecting. Or, let me undo that. What about if we actually just, this could be cool if we bring this note in early maybe. Not yet. Okay, I've got one other idea. Let's try to actually move it later. So this now is actually the same as that, except so we've kind of moved the element of surprise. Now everything's playing the same, except here you're expecting this chord to last all the way to the end, because that's what it, you know, the harmonic rhythm does here. But instead it quickly changes. syncopation is a funny thing, because when you are playing chords on their own like this, because you aren't hearing that that metronome, the click, or any kind of percussion holding down the you know, the quarter notes, what happens is sometimes there's it's almost difficult to hear the syncopation, so everything starts sounding normal or everything starts sounding abnormal because there's no reference point. So we've got a lot of syncopation going on here. The original had that, and now, you know, we've kind of added well, you know, that syncopation there, and then this is on the beat. So what I recommend when you're working with syncopation like this, and you know, it's always a good idea, just go ahead and throw in some hi-hats or a click or something. Oh, that's not a hi-hat. Okay, so as soon as you do that, it's like, okay, now you can feel the syncopation. You can feel this one on the beat right there, on the fourth beat. So that sounds really nice. It kind of gives it a nice, you know, little bit of extra energy. The movement at the end here, I probably would join these. I don't think you need to play that again. This would be, because all of this would be in like the left hand on the piano, and then the other bit's the right hand. I'm still, you know, this kind of, oops, so this highlighted bit here, that's still just kind of following that in fifths. That's definitely something that we'd want to change, but for now, this is sounding good. We could even, if you wanted like a more subtle sound, we could join that too, so. Whenever you come up with chord progression, the way the original version of this chord progression sounds is kind of like the writing sketch, you know, you just kind of, you get the idea down, and then from there you work on it. And you can take it as far as you want. So, you know, this is absolutely 100% in line with the original feeling, but we've just spiced up the harmonic rhythm and added a chord. One more time. And I'm just listening to it now, and even every second time, you could even just, you wouldn't even need to, you could kind of alternate this. So every second time you could go just straight up to the root here. You know, you can make it really, you can make it as subtle as you want. You could join that as well, so you really just get that. I kind of like it with that one though, but so I mean that would be, and I mean you could also, if you really wanted a whole chord played on that fourth beat, you could also do the two roots up there, the Fs, but just play them again. Yeah, that's kind of nice. So you could do one version, so like the first time you could do it with the F there, the two roots, and then second time, actually I'll show you real quick, so glue those together. Alright, so this is what I'm talking about. So first time we got the double root, and then spice it up the second time with that that 2, and then coming down to the 1 over there. So check this out. Okay, that's really nice. What this does as well is just that one little change there actually extends the longevity of this chord progression, because it is now perceived, because of this variation here, it's now perceived as actually being twice as long. So you know, that's definitely how I would kind of leave that. Totally true to the essence of the original, but just kind of taken to its natural conclusion. Right now, on the other hand, here's one I made earlier. So if you really wanted to actually take this to its full potential, and as a piano player myself, I'm always kind of thinking of the arrangement of you know, how I would play this on the piano. And this is something, if you've watched my my chords video, you'll already notice the all the motifs and the inversions, the common notes and everything. Anyway, so this is totally the extreme version, so it's going to sound like way more than what you're used to. But you know, this is something that could be used somewhere, you know, maybe in you know, after the chorus, between, you know, that and the second verse, or it could be like in the bridge or something, where it's just a little kind of instrumental version without vocals, obviously, so you can have a bit more melody in the piano. Anyway, so here's one I made earlier. Okay, so you can see all the different melodies doing their thing. You can really follow them through. So even though it's chords, we're using a melodic approach to chords, and this is really the beginnings of counterpoint, which you can check that out in the songwriting PDF. So you can follow like this through here. This is our bass voice down there, and then we've got the middle voice going here, up there, down, up there, and there, and then we've got like the three voices up here. You can see the top one obviously along there like that, and then the middle one. So you know, this is really how a pianist would kind of interpret you know, this chord progression and bring it to life. Okay, I got one last little pretty awesome trick for you, and then we're done. So let's get rid of this. We're going to go back to the original. Okay, so this is just the original chord progression for Closer. Okay, so remember, this is our root, right? So see if this sounds familiar. So that's F. Just going to take that up to B. So now we're in B minor, and also going to speed this up by only 8 BPM to 103. We were in 95. Okay. Have a listen to this. Okay. That's just the chord progression of Closer in B minor now, okay? But check this out. Does this sound familiar? that is something just like this. The new Chainsmokers single with Coldplay. And when I heard that, I didn't read, I was just listening, and I just presumed it was a remix of Closer, because I was like, oh, that's the exact same chord progression. And this is why understanding spelling is vital, because when you make music, if you understand the spelling, you know what you're doing, so you don't actually copy yourself, because this is exactly the same chord progression with exactly the same harmonic rhythm, just in a different key. So we're doing the flat 6 major to the flat 7 major to the 1 minor, and then back to the flat 7 major. The harmonic rhythm is not even different. So, and once again, this is why it's important to think of not just the spelling, but the harmonic rhythm. Even just kind of moving the harmonic rhythm, moving this back, or, bringing it up earlier or something, would have made it sound different. Or once again, maybe this time around, because the last, in Closer, this is the same chord as there. So maybe this time they could have, changed that chord there. But as it stands, Closer and something just like this have exactly the same chord progression with exactly the same harmonic rhythm, just in a different key, and 8 BPM faster. And with this thing added on top, which doesn't change anything really. And also these are perfect fits. The D up to the A, so it's that's the interval that we want to avoid when we're working melodically, because those perfect fifths and perfect fourths, they vibrate too perfectly, so they don't have any color. So these are weak melodic intervals here, and obviously back down afterwards. So there you go. Old single becomes the new single. And that is how you hack 2 songs at once. So I will, hope this has been insightful. Once again, there are lots of really awesome things in the original version. I'm not dissing it at all. Cool tunes, absolutely. However, definite areas for improvement. So take-home message for this is think about the harmonic rhythm, and most importantly, know the spelling of all your chord progressions and melodies, so you don't actually end up copying yourself in new songs. And always explore the full potential of everything you do. So once you've got your chord progression, the initial sketch, keep working on it, push it, because you'll get to a point where you're like, okay, that's too far now, and then you can always kind of bring it back a little bit, and that's how you're going to find the full potential of everything you do, whether it's a chord progression or melody. So there you have it. That's been our first episode of Hack a Hit, and if there's a song that you would like me to analyze the theory of and talk about how they did it in the first place and then how it could be improved, then let us know in the comments below, and have fun. I hope you learned a thing or 3, and I'll see you next week on Theory Thursday. Bye. P.S. If you haven't downloaded the free book, what are you waiting for? 12 music theory hacks to learn scales and chords. It's free right now, waiting for you on our website at revolutionharmony.com. Okay, now I'm done. Bye.